Hello and welcome everybody back to our Pathologic 2 Let's Platinum. We are on part 3 of day 3, so let's get started. So we ended the last part where the plague had just about broken out, and from here on out now the districts will all be plagued at some point throughout the game, and we're going to need to step our game up and we're going to have to start curing people and saving people from the infections. So again, before we enter any plague districts, we're going to make sure our immunity is all up to scratch. So again, just round the corner from the town hall, you're going to find like a few schools. Now this is a really good place to trade with the kids. We should be close to our tag trophy now, but again, you just want to trade whatever you can trade with them. And again, always looking out for those medicinal items, fingernails, morphine, immunity tablets. Now I've lost count how many times I've traded with these kids. We should be close to the tag trophy. We may even possibly get it in this video, hopefully. If not, we're not too far off. See what this dude has to offer. We'll take the bar of soap off this guy, why not? We'll add it to... I want to get this tag trophy pretty much done and dusted. So you can say to these guys whatever you want to say to them if you decide to speak to them. And we're basically just going to tell this guy that there's an outbreak. So we can't speak to this guy, but if we go over the bridge, we are going to find another orderly. So we're going to go ahead and speak to him. And he's going to explain exactly what we need to do to stay alive. Basically everything that I've been saying to you, he's pretty much going to reiterate that. So first of all, he's going to tell us to take immunity tablets, which we already knew and we're already on top of. As he mentions there, the air's infected, basically everyone and everything is infected. So as long as we keep on top of all our protective equipment, all our protective clothing, we should be okay. But again, there's no guarantee. As I say, we're not trying to die, but I may die. I'll try my best not to. But as long as we keep our death count below the 7 deaths for our first playthrough, we should be okay. So again, you can see that the Skinner's district is showing up as red on the map, which means it is currently an active breeding ground for the infection. And you can see in the top left there that our immunity is going down very slowly. So as always, if we check the bins, we're going to find some nice little items here, especially for the dead item shop at the end of the day. You're going to find a lot of broken ampoules, and you're going to find water bottles, bandages, rotten food, things like that. So always worth checking them out. And here we are at Peter Stomartin's loft or house. So we'll grab that candle from there and we'll enter through the front door. Now this is going to be our first experience with helping someone with the plague. Now we're not necessarily diagnosing people here like we did with patches, but we are going to try and reduce a person's chance of getting the infection at the end of the day. Because at the end of every day, it's pretty much a 50-50 chance whether someone can be infected or not. No matter how much immunity you try and give them from the plague, they can still become infected at the end of the day. But we'll learn more about that in a second. We're just going to loot this apartment first, see what we can find. So there's Peter Stomartin down there, and we'll talk to that mime in a minute. And you can always sleep on the sofa there if you need to. Nothing in the corners there. But before speaking to Peter Stomartin, we're going to speak to the mime or the prompter. And this guy is basically going to tell us exactly what we need to do and about people's immunity from the infection. And as you can see there, he's going to say that at midnight, Death will roll his dice to see if he rolls high. This one will perish. If he rolls low, they live 1 day more. So there's like a little bar. It's pretty much like a little weighing scale type thing. You'll see later on at the end of the day. It basically chooses who lives and who dies, or who gets infected and who doesn't. And as I was just saying, that even though you give someone immunity, it doesn't necessarily mean that they will not become infected. And you can say whatever you want to these questions that the prompter gives you. So if we speak to Peter Stomartin right now, we'll speak to him first, and then you'll see that the square button offered us to do a prophylactic. Prophylactic. I can't pronounce that word. But yeah, we'll be doing that in a minute, and that's basically how you give someone immunity. And Peter's just going to go into a bit more detail about that big monstrosity that he's built. We get to find out about that around day 8, I think it is, day 7 or day 8. And he's going to mention someone called Anna. She's a circus artist, and she is important as she is tied to a trophy. Now, Peter is not tied to a trophy, so if we wanted to there, we could have given him some immunity tabs, but I'm not going to waste any because he's pretty much, as I say, he's pretty much useless to the rest of the story, so we don't really need to keep him alive. So we're just going to top up our immunity right now before we move on. And as you can see, if you hover over one of the houses on the map, it'll tell you who lives there, and it'll tell you their current status. Now, we are going to go to this one in the middle right here, and it's going to say I need to check up on one Anna Angel, who's a circus performer, which we just mentioned. And once we get here to her apartment, it's going to be exactly the same thing. We're going to enter, and I'm going to find quite a few goodies in here. So head on upstairs. And there she is there in the middle of the room. Now you can save your game if you so wish. Again, we could talk to her or carry out a prophylaxis. Now she's got a lot of, quite a bit of food we can take in here, though, especially those milk drinks. They're really, really handy. But we are running out of item space, to be fair. So we're either going to have to dump a few things or come back later on. See what we can for now, I think, and then leave the rest. At least we know where they are, like the toast and things like that. Don't think we've got much room for them, to be honest. So if you go ahead and talk to Anna Angel, just have a chat with her for now, and you're going to find out a little bit more about who she is and why she's here. So if we go ahead and press square for a prophylaxis, we're going to give her a tincture. Now, it doesn't matter which tincture you give her or immunity tablets. So finally, we're going to head to the Broken Heart pub, and we're going to speak to the last of the Stomartin brothers, and we're also going to find a couple of surprise guests in here. We're going to find Notkin and Khan, which we are going to speak to in just a second. And it doesn't matter what you say to this guy. Again, he's not important to the story, or not important to any trophies, so we're not going to be keeping this guy alive. So once we've spoken to him, we're going to go ahead, back up the stairs, and we're going to go and speak to Notkin and a new character, Khan. Now Notkin and Khan, they are at war with each other. Khan is the one who lives in the polyhedron, where all the kids have been flocking to apparently, and Notkin is obviously the leader of the Soul and a Halves. So you're going to get a bit more backstory here between these pair and what's going on. And it doesn't really matter what responses you give to Notkin or Khan, but make sure you speak to both of them completely, as these guys will lead us to a quest a little later on towards the end of the day, which the quest is either going to plague a district or it's not going to plague a district, depending on the actions that we take. So this is the part where the game gets pretty interesting. It starts to pick up pace, it starts to get pretty good, and this is where we're going to have to use our time management skills and make sure we get the most out of every day, make sure we do what we need to do, save who we need to save. That's why we may not get all miscellaneous trophies on the first run. Our first playthrough is literally going to be a case of trying to get the good endings, and we're going to try and keep the three main characters alive, which are Lara, Ruben and Grief. So that's our main objective. If we can do that in our first playthrough, I'll be happy, and then we can go back to each individual chapter using our saves. So hopefully you have been saving the game at least at the beginning of every single day, and any trophies that we miss we can just go straight back to, and we can do the requisites for them, and of course get all the alternate endings.
When the cat's away, the mice will play.
So you can see we've got a new destination there. We'll be heading there in a minute, but first of all, we're going to head to the Haruspex lair. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sort the inventory out a little bit. It's looking a bit of a mess, so I'll do that really quickly and then get back to you guys in a second.
I'll take you to your end. Tend, mend.
And there we go, all done. So at this point, there's pretty much not much to do down in the Haruspex lair just yet. Our next destination, of course, will be just by Aspiti's hospice. We get this quest marker by speaking to Notkin and Khan, and this is basically our actions that happen there will decide whether this part of the district gets plagued or not. Before we head and do that, we're going to want to speak to these two guys here. They're going to give us some blood and some organs and things like that. Now the organs are fresh organs, they're not infected. You can get infected organs and you can get fresh organs. But we're going to put them away for now because they will become useful pretty much later on, especially when we're going to be trying to make the cure for this plague. There'll be a lot of trial and error. But yeah, put them in your locker and move on to the house just over here. You'll also find a lot of kids hanging around this area and a lot of other people you can trade with. So that's what we're going to be doing first. We're just going to be going and seeing what these kids have got to offer, and hopefully we can pop our tag trophy. Trade what we can. I shouldn't have put all that stuff back in the inventory, but I'm not going back now. See what this little dude's got to offer. Well, these guys, they take springs and mechanical scrap and things like that. A lot of the others only take like peanuts and stuff. So they each have their own individual likes and what they want. There's a nice package in this bin here. We'll see what's in that later on. There's a herb hiding right there, so we're going to take that anyway. So if you come on over here, just by the water barrel, you're going to find the house which is infected. And basically, as soon as we go into here, the door is going to lock itself behind us. So once you're in here for good then. You can't get out until you either die or we complete the task, which will be presented in front of us in a second. But first, we're just going to loot. We're going to loot the place, and basically, we're going to want to find as many matches as we possibly can, because the matches are going to become pretty much important. We're going to have to light those candles, which you can see there. So here's Notkin and Khan. I will speak to them in a second. And it says, today was a turning point. Fates are decided at midnight. If you want to protect someone, take care of them before nightfall. A new pantomime is being rehearsed at the theatre. Infected over the past 24 hours, 333 people. Gone missing, 36 people. Overall death toll, 26. And it says you've managed to protect the crude sprawl from infection. Now the crude sprawl is where we are at now. If we didn't show up here, then the crude sprawl would be infected. Obviously, we popped the trophy for completing day 3, and this is the scale in which we find that the characters will either become infected or they'll basically live to fight another day. So Peter is infected, and Anna shouldn't be infected. Oh, she is. That's not good. So we're going to have to see to Anna at some point. But yeah, you know, as you can see, even though we've given her some immunity, she still became infected. But it is what it is. We just have to go and see her a bit later on. And make sure we do, because as I say, she's tied to trophies. We need her alive. Let's just carry on looting this place for now. And then we're going to want to go and see Notkin and Khan. Basically, Notkin and Khan are here to prove an urban legend, whether it's a load of crap or whether it's real. And then they found themselves locked in the house, they can't get out, and he's basically going to ask us what we need to do, and that's where we need to just light the candles that we find around in each of these rooms and in the hallways. So that's why if you see any of the matches, pick them up.
Should have kept quiet. A bargain is a bargain.
There we go. As soon as we've spoken to Notkin, we're going to start lighting the candles. We'll find one in the room with him and Khan. We're going to find one in the room here. I'm sure there's one over here somewhere. Yep. Now you'll see the little circle on the bottom left there. You'll see it start to fill up. I think there's 6 candles altogether. I think that's all the ones for upstairs anyway. I think there's 2 more downstairs, but they're pretty much in the rooms which aren't properly lit. Yeah, we've got one more. There's 5. And 6. And once you've lit all the candles, the door will unlock. We'll go and speak to Notkin first.
There once was a man of great humour who found he was.
And there we go. That part is done. So yeah, basically, if you didn't come here, then the Crude Sprawl district would become infected at this point. But because we came here, we've done the tasks. The Crude Sprawl will be okay for now. And that's not to say it doesn't become infected in the coming days. So I want to sort this hunger of mine out, because the hunger bar is getting pretty high. There we go. That should keep us going for a bit. Our next destination will be the theatre, because it has passed midnight. But for now, we're going to go and see Lara, Grief and Ruben. This again is essential to the game, to keeping these guys alive, so we need to go and see them. We don't get a trophy for this, but basically they're going to lay out the plans ahead, and we need to keep all these people alive. These 3 people are the most important people in the game, well, to us anyway, if you're hunting trophies. We're going to go there before we go to the theatre, so you're just going to go and head to the station, and you're going to see a campfire literally in the middle of the field down here, a big open area. And here you'll find Grief, Lara and Ruben. So all we need to do is speak to all 3 of them in turn, and it doesn't matter what you say to these guys, you're just going to get a bit more story. You're going to get a lot of backstory and basically about what's going to be happening in the future in regards to the outbreak. Now we're going to speak to Ruben after we've spoken to Lara. Now Ruben is going to be the guy that we're going to be chasing the most throughout these next 3 days. We've got up to day 6 to get the trophy for making the cure. And basically, as long as we stick to Ruben, Grief and Lara's quests, then we should be okay, because Ruben can die at the end of day 6 depending on what we've done. So I'll speak to Ruben, speak to Grief. Again, it doesn't matter what you say to him.
Over a barrel. Nothing to be done about it now.
So after you've spoken to Grief, Lara and Ruben, it's time to head to the theatre to watch the next pantomime. Here we go, let's enter the double doors and we'll see what the pantomime is this time.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the Outbreak. The theater is officially disbanded.
As well as other conveniences. Running water, access to your own children, who never leave their beloved polyhedron anyway, sewage, friendly smiles on the street, any respect for the institution of marriage, food, etc., etc.
On the order of that big city bachelor, all theatrical costumes are to be handed out to orderlies. You know, protection.
By the way, obeying the orderlies is now mandatory, per current laws.
Is that all?
For now.
The town is doomed. Why bother with any of this?
Oh, ladies and gentlemen, please focus on your life aspirations. You have little more than a week now. Make sure your affairs are in order and do your best to pursue your dismal dreams.
So that pantomime basically just reiterated what we sort of knew was going on, that the whole place is starting to become doomed with the outbreak. But with that over, we're going to head over to the dead item shop, which you can see has moved again. We'll speak to the traveller first, see what he's got to say. And if we make a trade, we're obviously going to go for the food. We'll leave the bullets. We don't really need bullets, as I say. We're not going to be using any guns. Not really that good a haul, to be honest, was it, that one? So we'll try again tomorrow. But at least we got some food to tire us over. So the last thing I want to do before I end the video is head over to Anna's place. You'll be able to see she is wrapped up in these rags. But before we go and see to her, then we're going to go and loot the rest of the cupboards. I'm going to take all the stuff which we left last time we were here. So everything should be here still. All the toast and the apples. But onto diagnosing Anna then, and we'll see if we can get the cause of this infection. So again, it's the same thing as what we did on Patches. We're just going to be using the tinctures that we've got to try and diagnose where the infection is. Again, always keeping an eye on that pain meter on the right. So it's pretty much a tincture and then a morphine. Right, so we know it's not in the nerves. Give some more morphine. This one's going to be using quite a few tinctures here. So some people do. Some people will take quite a few tinctures to try and figure out where it is. Other people you will pretty much get straight away. But at least we know that we've done all we could for Anna. We've diagnosed that the infection's in the blood, and we've given her the correct medicine. And now it's all up to fate.
Such is life.
So I'd like to thank you all so much for watching. If you have enjoyed the video, then please hit that like button. It really, really does help out the channel a lot. And be sure to subscribe for more Pathologic 2 videos and for more trophy hunting content. Once again, guys, thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time. Take care.